In 1922, no one saw it coming. Not Trotsky, not Kamenev, not even Lenin himself. They thought it was just another appointment, a simple administrative role in the party, a man chosen to file reports, keep records, sign papers. But behind that desk, a storm was forming. Every file he touched, every signature he approved, was another thread in a web only he could see. While the others spoke of revolution, he learned to control information. While they argued about ideology, he chose who would listen and who would vanish. It wasn't a throne he needed. It was an office, a title, and time. This is how Joseph Stalin, a man with no crown, no army, and no spotlight, used a desk job to build a dictatorship. And it all began in April 1922, Moscow. April 3rd, 1922. The Communist Party gathers to assign new responsibilities. Lenin is ill. The revolution's leaders are exhausted. The machine they built is growing faster than they can control. Someone suggests creating a new post, a general secretary, to handle records, party membership, and internal coordination. It's a job nobody wants. It sounds dull, technical, paperwork, meetings, lists. No power, no glory, and that's why they choose Stalin. He accepts quietly. No celebration, no speech. He smiles, just once, then sits behind his new desk. On the surface, it's a job for a clerk. But Stalin knows better, because in a system built on loyalty and information, whoever controls the files controls the future. Day after day, he studies every department, every name, every small conflict. He begins placing his own people, quiet, obedient men, in offices across the party, provincial committees, city councils, factory boards. Each appointment seems small, but together they form something far larger. A network, a chain of loyalty. He is building his empire one signature at a time, while the others argue about ideology. Trotsky debates theory, Bukharin writes essays, Zinoviev chases applause, Stalin builds silence. He keeps track of who supports whom, who owes favors, who can be trusted. Soon, every piece of paper in the party passes through his office first. He doesn't just record decisions, he shapes them. By the end of 1922, Stalin is everywhere and nowhere. No one sees his rise, because it doesn't look like a rise at all. It looks like administration, efficiency, order. But inside the party's files, Stalin's fingerprints are on everything. And then Lenin's health begins to fail. A stroke, then another. He cannot speak clearly. He cannot lead as before. While the country watches the father of the revolution fade, one man quietly begins to take his place. Not on stage, but behind the curtain. April 1922 will never be remembered as a day of revolution. But it should be, because that was the day. A bureaucrat named Joseph Stalin became the most dangerous man in the Soviet Union, and no one noticed. Late 1922. Vladimir Lenin, the father of the revolution, is sick. A stroke has taken his strength, and his words come out slow, heavy, broken. The party says he needs rest, fewer visitors, less stress. And who decides who can see Lenin? Who filters his mail, his meetings, his reports? Joseph Stalin. From his office, Stalin now controls every letter that reaches Lenin's bedside. He decides who can speak to him and who cannot. He tells the Central Committee that Lenin is too ill for politics. But in truth, he is building a wall of silence around the man who built the revolution. Even Trotsky, Lenin's most trusted comrade, finds his messages delayed, misdelivered, or simply never answered. Stalin begins to take over Lenin's work, approving appointments, handling internal disputes, overseeing communications with the republics. Every task makes him look like a loyal servant. Every signature pulls more authority into his hands. The party sees efficiency. They call him indispensable. But the truth is simpler. Stalin is erasing the distance between Lenin's power and his own. By December 1922, Lenin realizes what's happening. He tries to write. His hands shake. His words are slow, but his mind is clear. He dictates what history will call Lenin's testament. In it, he warns the party, warns them about Stalin. He writes, "Comrade Stalin is too rude, and this defect, though tolerable in our midst and in dealings among us communists, becomes intolerable in a Secretary General. I suggest that the comrades think about removing Stalin." But the testament never reaches the party in time, because Stalin controls who sees it, who reads it, who hears about it. Lenin suffers another stroke, his voice gone forever. And Stalin, the man he warned them about, now speaks for him. He visits Lenin less and less. When he does, it's not as a friend, but as a man taking inventory of what remains. He has already begun replacing Lenin's allies with his own loyalists in Moscow, in the provinces, and deep within the party's offices. Each name changed, each post reassigned, tightens his grip. No guns, no open conflict, just silence, paperwork, and time. By early 1923, Lenin lives in isolation. The revolution's voice is fading, but the machine it built now runs on Stalin's command. While the world prays for Lenin's recovery, Stalin is already preparing for what comes after. January 21st, 1924. Vladimir Lenin is dead. The voice of the revolution has fallen silent. Across Russia, factories stop. Trains stand still. People cry in the streets. The man who promised them a new world is gone. But inside the Kremlin, power does not wait for mourning. Lenin left instructions, a testament, a warning written in his final days. It said Stalin must be removed. But Stalin makes sure that message stays hidden. He convinces the Central Committee that showing it would damage unity. He speaks with calm authority, the voice of reason, the guardian of order in a time of grief. And they believe him. For now. Then comes the funeral. A sea of people fills Moscow. Snow falls like ash. The air is heavy with sorrow and propaganda. Stalin takes control of the ceremony. He stands beside Lenin's coffin, his face cold, composed. Trotsky, Lenin's true heir in the eyes of many, is not there. Stalin made sure of it. He sent Trotsky a message, the wrong date for the funeral. By the time Trotsky arrives in Moscow, it's already over. On the steps of the Hall of Columns, Stalin steps forward and speaks. "Comrades, we swear to you, Comrade Lenin, that we will honor your command and guard your cause. The crowd listens. Many cry. They see a man devoted to Lenin's legacy, not realizing they are watching the birth of a myth. Because from this day on, Stalin will call himself Lenin's disciple, the protector of his dream. And anyone who disagrees will be branded an enemy of Lenin himself. Within days, Stalin uses the mourning to his advantage. He tightens his hold over the party secretariat, issues new membership lists, and pushes his allies into key positions. Zinoviev and Kamenev think they control him, that Stalin is their useful administrator. They are wrong. He is already replacing them, one loyalist at a time. In private, some whisper about Lenin's testament, about the warning no one was allowed to hear. But those whispers fade quickly. No one dares to question the man who buried Lenin with his own hands and claimed to guard his memory. The revolution that began with hope now belongs to fear. By the end of 1924, Stalin stands unchallenged at the heart of the party, not as a hero, not as a visionary, but as something far more dangerous. A man who learned to rule through silence, grief, and control. And the world has not yet seen what he will do with it. January 1924. Moscow is frozen in grief. The man who built the revolution, Vladimir Lenin, lies in his coffin. His face is pale. His body rests beneath red banners. People stand in endless lines to say goodbye. They whisper prayers they are no longer allowed to say aloud. But behind the tears, another reality is taking shape. One man walks beside the coffin more than anyone else. Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin. He bows his head. He looks like a loyal comrade, a humble servant mourning his teacher. But inside he already knows. The revolution now belongs to him. He has buried more than a leader. He has buried Lenin's last defense against him. Lenin's testament, the warning, locked away, hidden from the public. His allies divided, confused, silent. Trotsky gone from Moscow, and the rest too afraid to speak. Stalin doesn't need a throne. He doesn't even need a title. He controls the only thing that matters, the system. Across Russia, portraits of Lenin hang in schools, offices, and factories. And beside them, quietly at first, appear portraits of Stalin, the man who continues Lenin's work. The image grows. The myth takes shape, and no one dares to question it. Because the man at the center of the machine doesn't need to shout. He simply turns the gears. Lenin built the revolution to free the people. Stalin learned to use it to control them. Lenin ruled through faith, faith in the cause, faith in the people. Stalin rules through fear. He will decide who lives, who dies, who is remembered, and who is erased. And so it ends. Not with a gunshot, not with a coup, but with a man sitting behind a desk, signing papers, while history quietly changes forever. When Lenin's coffin was sealed, a revolution was buried with him. And from its shadow, a dictator was born. This was how Joseph Stalin, the clerk, the loyal comrade, the man no one feared, became the ruler of an empire. A dictator born from a desk job. A storm that began with silence